Ever feel like you're kind of just going through the motions? Like you're on autopilot? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive into the core ideas from a classic book by the business philosopher Jim Rohn called Seven Strategies for Wealth and Happiness. And it's all built on this one really powerful idea. You don't actually have to just settle for the life you've got. You actually have the power to design the life you really, truly want. And that really brings us to the central question here. I mean, the big one. So take a second, really think about this. Are you just making a living, or are you truly designing a life? Because let me tell you, the difference between those two things, well, it's everything. And this is really where the whole story kicks off. This one line from Jim Rohn, oh man, it is just so painfully relatable, isn't it? It just perfectly captures that feeling of financial stress, That feeling of working your tail off but still falling behind. And for him, this wasn't just some clever line. This was his actual life. Okay, so to really get this whole philosophy, you've got to understand the man himself, Jim Rohn, and this one encounter that completely turned his life around. See, this isn't some abstract academic theory. This stuff was forged in real-world frustration and a desperate search for answers. So picture this. Jim Rohn is 25 years old. He's looking at his life and he's ambitious, right? He works hard, but his paycheck? A measly $57 a week. And that's when it hit him. Hard work by itself just wasn't cutting it. He was definitely making a living, but he was a million miles away from designing a life. But you know what really lit a fire under him? It was this terrifying vision he had for his future. He looked at the people around him, people who had worked their whole lives, and so many of them ended up broke, needing help from others. And that fear of ending up the same way, that became the fuel he needed to find a completely different path. And then everything changed. Just when he needed it most, luck stepped in. He went to a seminar and met this successful businessman, a guy named Earl Schwaf, and Schwaf would become his mentor for the next 5 years. Now, Schwaf didn't just give him a job. No, he gave him something so much more valuable. He gave him a totally new way to think about life, about money, about success itself. And this was the light bulb moment for Rohn. His new mentor, Schwaf, asks him a simple question. Can I see your list of goals? And Rohn has to admit, he doesn't have one. Schwaf's reply just connected all the dots for him, instantly. No clear direction, no financial progress. It was that simple. So what was this big secret that Schwaf taught him? Well, it wasn't some crazy complicated formula. Nope. It all came down to a really simple philosophy, built on just 5 foundational words. Let's dig into what they are. All right, here they are. The 5 key words: fundamentals, wealth, happiness, discipline, and success. Now, these are the pillars of the whole philosophy. It all starts with getting the fundamentals right. That's what lets you build true wealth. And we're talking about more than just money here. We mean abundance everywhere. That leads to real happiness. But the thing that holds it all together? That's discipline. And all of that together leads to his unique definition of success. The real magic is in seeing how they all link up.
First up, fundamentals. The idea here is so simple but so powerful. Stop looking for some weird, complicated answer. Look, in pretty much any area of life, doesn't matter if it's business, relationships, your health, there are always just a handful of basic things that get you like 80% of the results. The secret isn't finding a new secret, it's just identifying and mastering those basics.
Okay, next we've got discipline. And listen up, because this one is absolutely crucial. Think of it this way. Discipline isn't about punishment. It's the bridge. It's the bridge that takes you from a good idea to a real accomplishment. It's the glue that connects what you want to what you get. Without that bridge, all your best ideas and inspirations, they're just thoughts that float away. And all of this leads to how Rohn defines success. And this is a big one. He basically says, forget what society tells you success is supposed to look like. True success is when you consciously design a life that lines up with your personal values, and then you go out and achieve it. It's completely 100% personal. Now, out of all those 5 words, Rohn says one of them is the master key that unlocks everything else. And that word is discipline. Why? Well, think about it. Without discipline, you never actually practice the fundamentals. Wealth never gets built. And success? It just stays a daydream. Discipline is the engine that makes the whole thing go. And this slide just lays it out so perfectly. Success isn't some giant heroic leap, and failure isn't one big disaster. They're both just the sum of your daily choices. Success is what happens when you practice small, smart disciplines consistently. And failure? That's just what happens when you make tiny errors in judgment, day after day after day.
So this is the critical distinction here. It's the difference between just hoping for something and actually doing something. On the one hand, you've got false hope, just saying positive things without any real action behind them. It might feel good, but you're not actually going anywhere. On the other hand, you've got real progress, and that only happens when you have a disciplined plan that you actually, start.
Okay, so that brings us to the really practical part. If discipline is the engine that's pushing you forward, what's steering the car? Well, that's your goals. Goals are the steering wheel. They give all that energy and all that effort a direction and a purpose. And I love this metaphor. It's so true. A vague wish like, I want to be rich, has zero power. But a really clear, vivid, well-defined goal, man, that thing acts like a magnet. It literally creates this force that starts pulling you toward it, helping you get through roadblocks and keeping your eyes on the prize.
And this is what life is like for most people who don't have goals. They're not being pulled forward by some exciting vision. They're just being pushed around by whatever happens to them. They're apprehensive about the future because, frankly, they haven't bothered to design a future that they can actually get excited about.
So why even bother setting goals? What's going to keep you going when things get tough? Well, Rohn pointed out 4 huge motivators that go way beyond just money. Maybe it's recognition from others. Maybe it's that amazing feeling of just winning. For a lot of people, it's about doing it for their family. Or maybe it's the pure joy of being able to give back. You've got to find your why.
And check out this incredible example of that last one, benevolence. As a young man, Andrew Carnegie wrote this down as his life's goal. He basically said, I'm going to spend the first half of my life making a ton of money, and the last half giving it all away. Think about that. That goal was so powerful, it drove him to become one of the wealthiest people on earth. And then he got to experience the joy of giving it all back. That's what a powerful, personal why can do. All right, so how do you actually get started? It's way simpler than you're probably thinking. Step 1, just create a plan. Seriously, it doesn't have to be perfect, just get something on paper. Step 2, get a little momentum. Just do one small thing. And step 3, commit to that new start, no matter how tiny it seems. And that's it. The waiting is over. Enough hoping. The single most powerful time to act is right now. Not tomorrow. Don't fall into that trap. Prove to yourself that you're serious about this by taking just one small, disciplined action today. Because that one single day can literally change everything. You let that one small action today become the start of a new week. And then you let that week become the start of a new month. And that month becomes the start of a new year. That's it. That's how you break free from your past and build a totally new trajectory for your entire life.
So I'm going to leave you with this one final thought. Forget about trying to change your entire life overnight. That's overwhelming. Just focus on this one question. What is the one new discipline, no matter how small, how simple, that you are willing to start today, right now?